Bhai, did you guys see? Marathi Manus has become the global CEO of Procter and Gamble, yaar.
I saw your post.
Big deal, yaar. It's a big deal. P&G is like, I know we have kind of conquered tech and IT and all of that. Starbucks, mein Nindra Nui and Lakshman were different. But what Procter and Gamble is like, boss, it's a white man's firm, yaar.
अच्छा
Out and out.
ऐसा है क्या?
Out and out, yaar. Out and out. 42 billion dollars of P&G revenue come from the US. Out of 85 billion. Half is US.
हाफ बट यूनिलीवर
Half.
भी ऐसे ही होगा ना?
नहीं. HUL is a big part of Unilever. HUL, I think 15-20% of Unilever.
नहीं इतना नहीं होगा, देखते हैं.
हाँ. मार्केट कैप पे तो होगा. Unilever also Dutch ना. Dutch company तो थोड़ा यूरोपियन है,
अच्छा
थोड़ा अमेरिकन है, थोड़ा इंडिया. HUL is very strong. P&G is $42 billion just US out of 85 billion. So the thing is ना, most like Sundar for example यहाँ पे पढ़ के फिर वहां जाके MBA किया. इंदिरा नोई also वहां जाके second MBA किया. IIM Calcutta फिर उधर जाके booth से आया one of these places.
This is the first guy
Yes.
who's out and out only Indian
IIM
studied.
Lucknow and then 36 years career यार.
Unilever
In that
overall
list.
60 billion euros. HUL is 6.7 billion. So 11%.
11%. It's pretty big. But big deal, yaar. See, he has to get everything right. You only have a 35-year career in an organization where promotions happen only every 3-4 years. Right? So you have 10 to 12 shots to get to the corner office. After a point, now people just laterally move here and there. It becomes very difficult. So I'm assuming you take a role between category and geography and keep making big jumps. And you have to each jump has to be meaningful enough. You see, I was reading up about the guy, right? I think of course performance is off the chart, but वो वैसे बहुत लोग होते हैं who deliver great numbers. I think with him, he actually started creating a lot of followership in the firm. Like people would just, if he would change roles, like the 100 people below him would kind of follow him or want to follow him. So suddenly there's a mobilization of talent that he was able to create, which I think is what differentiated him from other high performers whom had every year.
Shantanu, we have discussed this. I don't know, me and Chirag to keep discussing this. I have just boiled this down to every manager or leader who comes to me and says, I want to grow. I keep telling them your number one skill set has to be to generate followership with talent. To talent magnet where to attract कर, develop कर, जो करना है कर. टैलेंट तेरे साथ काम करेगा, तेरे को जितना प्रमोशन चाहिए, जो रोल चाहिए, एक ही रह जाता है यार आफ्टर अ व्हाइल. It's just
Single
one and
biggest
only
block
one
है.
thing.
If you are able to attract now, then people will make you redundant. You will have more bandwidth to grow.
Crazy leverage, yaar. Great talent. People, I think everyone knows this theoretically, okay? I think very few people actually experience it. Because it's easy to say.
Do you think they invest time with their teams? Like I'll tell you, I keep seeing the reverse. I keep seeing not achieve their full potential. I see this a lot now because 16 years I have worked with so many people. And the reverse is also true. Every talented person who I have seen get limited at a certain position or not being able to achieve more than what they were doing in the past has also been because of that their ability to develop talent or hire great talent, then delegate, etc., becomes a big challenge. And you're right, theoretically they know it. But when I ask them, कि आप ये क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे हो? At least I have seen two broad problems. One of the biggest ones that I see is lack of empathy. I think empathy is too soft a word. EQ. Let's say EQ is a more corporate understanding of like, and you can't develop EQ very easily. You're either there by nature, or you have to nurture your own self-awareness and accept and say, okay, I need to develop this and work at it. And it's very hard. It's very hard and it takes a lot of time. Actually, more than hard, it takes time. And it needs a lot of patience. It's like going to the gym. Every day, you're not seeing any gains, but tum ja rahe ho, tum kar rahe ho. And it happens maybe after 3-4 years that there's no measurement for it. Actually, दूसरा दिक्कत ये है ना अपने corporate में कि everyone wants to measure कि अच्छा, am I moving or not? Am I moving or not, right? You can't see EQ. You need to keep getting feedback. And the feedback will not be every month. People will see it over a quarter or maybe 6 months and say, yeah, we are seeing that you're putting some effort. You're doing better than before. But the bar is not clear. It's very hazy. So one is EQ. The other is, I just think, common sense of spending time and investing in people. That it's a job. Forget not having EQ. Just have the basic courtesy that as a manager or as a leader, your number one job is to first make your people successful. Right? Somehow that's also missing in, like, most common thing I see from young kids is my manager doesn't give me time. I'm like, yeah, how can you not give your team time? That is a number, like crime or crime. You have to be available for your team at all points of time. So
it's an important but not urgent part of the bucket, na. Spending time with the team without agenda or without work is always important but not urgent. So you always think that. My view now, Revant, on this is actually revolved over a period of time is you tend to project to your people around you and compensate for things that you did not get. For example, if you were born to a family where parents did not kind of give you the attention you needed growing up, you will become an overcompensatory parent in all likelihood. So people who are managers growing up the ranks will start overcompensating for things they did not get. I also feel like people confuse, and I think as maturity and growth happens, initially your view of people management as you're a young manager is around popularity, being liked. People
Hmm.
confuse followership with being a nice person or doing things or kind of being a bend over and so on, right? So there are a lot of even senior folks I see who are very people pleasing or team pleasing without like compromising for company outcomes, for example.
Hmm.
Right? That's the stage one. Stage two is where they start becoming a lot more empathetic. So popularity becomes replaced with empathy. And at some stage, empathy also becomes extremely dangerous. If you're over empathetic, then it stops you from being a real leader. And I think the big delta that I think a lot of people, including me, struggle with is going from empathy to compassion. And it's a very it's a very clear distinction. Like empathetic leaders are actually roadblocks to organizations
Say
because
more
they
about this. Say more. Give examples.
to make like making the other person's problems or making the other like it is not my job as your manager to be in your shoes. It might be my job to understand it once in a while, and that should be one of the many inputs into my decision or into my approach. But compassion is more important. You're a human being. Here are your variables. Here is what um, is the bigger picture, and then we should take a call which is slightly more dispassionate, objective, and having your good also as kind of baked in. And I think that's the one shift I see really good leaders make very well. They can be brutal when it comes down to it. You'll feel like, in some situations they're extraordinarily compassionate and, kind of for the other person. But many times they take calls that are unpopular and so on. So I think compassion is most important.
Actually, interestingly, I got this feedback recently. So I do a yearly. Uh, it's a tough job because founders CEOs don't get brutal feedback, right? Like we are like the venture ecosystem is very well known for being very founder friendly, right? And at the extreme end, you have governance issues. At the other extreme end, things are all hunky dory because founders are in the arena every day fighting the battles, and therefore there's a lot of empathy and founder friendly firstness, if I can call it. But when you get past PMF, right, the broader question that I keep asking is there should be feedback loops, right, to just build self awareness. So my recent yearly review, I got feedback that empathy is a very small part of overall EQ. So in when you need to have very high EQ as a leader, which you do. That this was feedback for me. You're building more self awareness. You are trying to regulate and manage your emotions, though I'm not the best at it. You are motivated to achieve goals, and you have empathy to understand others' feelings, and you have social skills. So there's a very high EQ bar that I have, which is great. The two places I need to work on is manage my own emotions. I should, as the company grows larger, learn to manage them. But more critically, they said you are over-indexed on empathy. So to your point, Shantanu, the feedback that I got was that overall in EQ, if you over-index on empathy, you will not exactly what you said, that you will not be a great leader because you now have to learn to be more objective. You're not holding hands and trying to cross the river. कि यार क्या बनेगा कल पता नहीं है. But if the company is now at a certain scale, there's a lot more objective first principle frameworks that can be used to grow the business from here. You don't need to like every day is not a battle कि यार कल लौट के नहीं आएंगे करके types, right? So the paths become a lot more objective. Maybe there is still 20% एकदम 0 to 1 कुछ करना है, but most teams need to have a clear jobs to be done framework. You can hire for that. The talent is available to take the company in the 1 to 10 zone. Empathy is a big problem in there because a lot of the leadership that you develop in the 0 to 1 stage, they are not skilled labor. They're just coming a generalist who are trying to say that, let's win this battle and let's build a great company. But as you start needing specialists, the generalists need to understand that now they need to be a specialist role. And empathy is what stops the leader giving that feedback. That boss, you now have to be a specialist, right? So it's an interesting point that I always mixed up EQ and empathy, and then when I got this feedback, I went and read properly कि यार EQ के क्या 4-5 component है, empathy is one part of them, and we generally oscillate between over-indexing on one or the other. So while it's very good to have self-awareness, keep that as the highest. Have a very high social skills framework because as a leader, you need to interact effectively with others. be very motivated to achieve your goals. But what is also important and very hard for me, at least, is self-regulation. And at least the feedback I have got is I'm very high on empathy. I mean, maybe need to regulate that a little bit.